Welcome back, everybody, to another shocking courtroom episode of Lockdown 23 and 1. That's right, today we're going to be jumping back into a Michigan courtroom to witness another monster get sentenced to prison. And we're going to see a couple prime examples today. One in particular is called an upward departure. What exactly does that mean? That means when the judge doesn't agree with what the prosecution says the defendant should be sentenced to, and goes above and beyond what they were asking for. For the people too, by the way. Look, this guy, he's going to be charged with some filthy crimes. And the prosecution says the people are requesting 15 to 30 years sentence. I believe that's what it was. And you know, I thought to myself, the people? There's no way in God's green earth I would want him walking this planet again, ever. It happens like that sometimes, though. You know, the prosecution, I'm not putting blame on them. It's more along the lines of the sentencing guidelines. But like I said, the judge does not agree with the prosecution and decides to go to the moon with his sentence, figuratively speaking. So before we get into all of it, if you're new to the channel and enjoy all things lockup and crime related, then this is where you want to be. Hit that like, subscribe, notification bell before you leave, and check out my beautifully assorted playlist with many more videos for you to start watching today. A jury convicted Andrew Payne in a disturbing kidnapping case when he sexually assaulted a woman over a multi-day period. He was found guilty of 7 felony counts. It says back in 2022, Payne lured a college friend to his house of horrors in the city's east side. Payne contacted the woman and told her about a possible job at his church, inviting her to meet with the pastor. Already, that's one of the most diabolical intros to a scheme I've ever heard. Only a sicko would use a church and pastor to bait someone in. But when she arrived, the alleged Payne took her to a house across the street. He pulled a gun on her and forced her inside the home for 3 days, making depraved requests and sexually assaulting her multiple times. She escaped the home after he left her alone, fleeing through a second-floor window and running to get help. It is the court's opinion that those words and your conduct on how you left her suggest that you intend to use her and abuse her for as long as you desired, the judge said. First off, thank goodness she got up out that house, man. If she didn't, it could have been her last moments on earth in that room. Second of all, one of the most diabolical things about this is while he had her in there captive, forcing her to fulfill his sexual fantasies, when he was done, he would go outside the room, lock her in there, and just play video games like it's nothing. And there's more high-definition details in this case that were brought up, but that's the bulk of it, ladies and gentlemen. Let's jump into the courtroom and witness what the courts have in store for this monster.
Mr. Payne, your conduct, your behavior, your deceit on that day and those 2 days and 1 morning was the kind of things that makes grandmothers clutch their pearls, grandpas grab their granddaughters and hold them tight, not wanting the world to bruise them. It's the kind of behavior that makes mothers become helicopter mothers, and every place their daughters or their children go, they're always there, flying in and flying over, and not so fearful that they don't let their children out of their sight for more than a few hours, and always making calls, and their children are just huddled over because of this kind of behavior.
Never heard the term helicopter mother before, but that fits the bill. Just imagine all the mothers that had something very traumatic happen to them before they even had a child. Of course it's going to blend into the child's life, you know, when it comes down to the protectivity, sheltering, and nurturing, trying to make sure that none of that stuff ever comes your child's way. It has lasting effects, and it makes ripples in this pond called time.
Your conduct on those 2+ days, Mr. Payne, was the kind of things that makes fathers lose sleep over, the kind that makes fathers become vigilantes over. Fathers worry about whether their daughter is going to come home safely from social events, go to school and not be accosted. The kind of things that make fathers worry from the cradle to the grave. Your behavior was the kind of thing that makes young women afraid to go outside, to socialize with other people, and ultimately to not trust men. Your behavior on those 2 days, your deceit that led to all of those incidents that were testified to from that stand that the jury believed and found you guilty of. Your behavior is the kind of things that makes legislators scramble to keep up with the laws that intended to deter people from committing such atrocities and making the consequences when they do violate women the way that you do, makes those legislators come up with new laws and extend time limits for serving the consequences in correctional institutions. Your behavior was unseemly, unnecessary, untimely for Miss Garrick, and ultimately brings us to this stage at your very young age.
Oh my, this is probably the worst wording a defendant could possibly hear before he gets sentenced. When the judge is using you and your crime as a prime example of why legislators changed the laws to extend time periods during sentencing for the atrocities such as the one the defendant's in here for today. Yup, and he was found guilty by a jury. If I were to guess, he's going to be getting a max penalty. Bobby's already got the canisters queued, my friend.
Unseemly, unnecessary, untimely for Miss Garrick, and ultimately brings us to this stage at your very young age because you chose to be deceitful to bring to fruition your fantasies. The testimony didn't support, nor did the jury buy that it was her fantasy, but it was your sexual fantasy that resulted in what happened to Miss Garrick during those 2 days of living hell that she had to endure at that nasty house, that house full of the furniture, clothing, debris, all around that house. You subjected her to that, and she didn't deserve that. Your behavior is the kind of thing that makes judges scratch their heads in disbelief and lose precious sleep, contemplating what kind of sentence could I fashion that would or sometimes even inadequately, but adequately in this case, address the egregious, immoral, savage, sadistic, sexual deviant behavior that you subjected Miss Garrick to.
Wow, the wording from the honor today is magnificent. Superb.
And that brings us to the sentencing, sir. I have contemplated for a few days, and I thought I'd listen to what Miss Garrick had to say, and I hear what she said via the prosecutor. We've gone over the guidelines, and here you are and here I am, sir. And it's not something that I relish doing, but the law requires a response to the kind of behavior that the jury said that you were guilty of. Can you stand, please, sir? You can have a seat. I need to read some law. I'm a judge who certainly foundation of what I do is based on the law.
Love it.
I'm telling you now, that I'm going to depart from the sentencing guideline. I do not believe that the sentencing guidelines adequately addressed some of the seriousness of the circumstances that surrounded the offense on those 2 days of living hell for Miss Garrick.
Yep, I believe the defendant's about to get the full arm of justice because we've covered a case similar to this in the past where the judge said he's going to depart from the sentencing guidelines, meaning probably an upward departure. Definitely not downward from the verbiage he's been saying to the defendant. It's going to be because of his heinous acts. He's going to go above and beyond the recommended guidelines for his sentencing, meaning he's probably going to give him the max. But it also could be reversed in some situations if the judge feels as though the guidelines is a little too strong. He can go under them. I've seen that many times and give the guy probation or something, when the sentencing guidelines said 5 years in prison. So it's a case-by-case situation sometimes, but let's see if the judge gives him the max like I'm expecting.
It is the sentence of this court, sir. Now you can stand. It is the sentence of this court that you be placed in the custody of the Michigan Department of Corrections to serve a period of, on counts 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, a period of 25 to 50 years. On each of those counts. And those counts, sir, will run consecutive. concurrent to each other. Counts 1 through 5. 25 through 50 to run concurrent. However, as to count 6, kidnapping.
I almost got tricked up there. He said consecutive at first. 25 to 50 for 1 through 5. That would have made it 125 years if it was consecutive. But it wasn't. He ran them concurrent, which means all 5 of them put together, he has to do 25 to 50. But this is a prime example of the meaning between the two. One word would have meant another 100 years. But he still has other crimes. Is the judge going to run these consecutive or concurrent? Who knows?
However, as to count 6, kidnapping, it is the sentence of this court that you also serve a period of time of 25 to 50 years on count 6, kidnapping, to run consecutive to
counts 1 through 5.
The 25 to 50 years on counts 1 through 5.
Kidnapping, I believe some states carry 25 to life or 25 to 50 years in prison. Me personally, one of the most terrifying cases I had to go in front of the judge for was abduction. Kind of similar to kidnapping, right? And I actually beat it. But look, I tattooed this after it. 25 to 50. It's not the best, but you know, it has some meaning to it.
Count 6, 25 to 50 years consecutive to count the 25 to 50 on counts 1 through 5. And finally, as to count 7, assault with intent to do great bodily harm less than murder or by strangulation, it is the sentence of this court that you serve 5 to 10 years in the Michigan Department of Corrections. And the 5 to 10 years, sir, will be concurrent to counts 1 through 5.
So we're still sitting at a 50 to 100 clip in prison.
You must not live in a residence where any individual age 17 or under stays or is cared for. You must not provide care for any individual age 17 or under. You must, I did see that you had registered, but you must register the criminal sexual conduct in the first degree is a tier 3. Unless there's something else from the attorneys, this matter is concluded.
All right, follow the smoke trail straight to your destiny, bump, sir. Yep, 50 years worth of it.
You may.
Yep, I'm definitely got to change outfits before going to my kid's school because I'm smelling smoked out. Thanks to Bobby overdoing it. Like we're at a Sunday brisket barbecue. That wasn't even the original smoke he usually uses. I think he used cherry wood. But that's a wrap, ladies and gentlemen. A monster gets 50 years to life in prison in Detroit, Michigan. And I can guarantee if they don't put him in a special block, he's going to have a very dark 50 years in prison. If I were to guess, he won't make it out alive. Just a guess. But let this be a rude awakening, man. You take anybody against their will, regardless of what the reason is. Sexual fantasy or a mental breakdown, it doesn't matter. You'll be facing 25 to 50 in most states. But I'm out of here, ladies and gentlemen. It's a Sunday before my kids got to go back to school. I'm looking forward to it, man. I ain't gonna lie. It's gonna be weird having a quiet house because this is the first time my youngest daughter is going to school. Kindergarten. They're all growing up so fast. First time, though. All the kids in school should be different. Anyways, until the next time, y'all be easy, be safe, and more importantly than anything, stay free.